Intro: close your eyes and imagine Germany in the late 1980s. The Berlin Wall was still standing, the Cold War was near its end, and the Autobahn was alive with machines that symbolized power and precision. Mercedes was dominating the luxury sedan market with its heavy, safe, and reliable cars. Japanese manufacturers were quietly sneaking in, offering reliability at lower prices. And BMW? They were under pressure. Their 5 Series needed to evolve or risk becoming irrelevant. Out of this challenge was born a machine that wasn't just a car, it was a fortress on wheels, a supercar in disguise, and an engineering experiment that pushed limits in every direction. This machine was the BMW E34, a car so legendary that decades later, people still call it the last overbuilt BMW. The E34 looked calm, respectable, and elegant. To the untrained eye, it was just another German sedan. But beneath its suit-and-tie exterior lived secrets: hand-built engines, hidden prototypes, political fortresses, and strange design choices that no other manufacturer would dare to try. Today, we step back into the 90s and uncover the fascinating story of the BMW E34. 2. The birth of an icon in 1987. BMW launched the E34 as the third generation of its 5 Series lineup. Compared to its predecessor, the E28, the E34 was sharper, sleeker, and far more advanced. This wasn't just evolution, it was revolution. Quintugs of them engineers spent countless hours in wind tunnels to sculpt its body. The result was a car that looked simple but carried a drag coefficient of just 0.30, making it one of the most aerodynamic sedans of its time. That mattered, because on the German Autobahn, high-speed stability could mean the difference between life and death. Inside, the E34 was a revelation. The cabin was designed with the driver at the center of the experience. The dashboard tilted slightly toward the driver, not for style, but to ensure that every control was within reach, making the driver feel like a pilot in command. BMW even thought about details like the door handles, shaping them so they could be used while wearing thick winter gloves. These weren't random touches. They reflected an era when German engineers obsessed over function, even in the smallest parts. The vault-like build, the first thing owners noticed was the weight and feel of the car. Closing an E34 door wasn't just an action, it was an experience. The solid thunk became legendary, a sound that modern BMW rarely replicate. Why? Because the E34 used thicker steel, higher quality materials, and advanced soundproofing. It wasn't just a sedan, it was a rolling fortress. Crash tests confirmed what owners felt. The E34 was one of the safest cars of its era. It came with driver airbags as early as 1989, something rare at the time. Anti-lock brakes were standard in many versions, and BMW engineers designed crumple zones that absorbed impacts more effectively than its competitors. Some reviewers joked that if you crashed into an E34, the car would win, not the wall. This overbuilt a reputation as one reason why so many E34s are still on the road today, even after decades of hard use. The hidden variance, what truly makes the E34 stand out, is the sheer number of variations. BMW produced everything from the humble 518e, with a tiny 1.8-liter 4-cylinder engine, to the 540y, which packed a roaring V8, and even the insane 750L with a V12. No other sedan in its class offered such a wide spectrum of engines, making the E34 accessible to both modest buyers and power-hungry enthusiasts. But here's where things get strange. Behind closed doors, BMW tested prototypes that never made it to the public. Engineers experimented with V10 and V12 powered E34s, essentially turning the car into a stealth supercar. These test cars were kept secret, locked away inside BMW facilities, and stories of their existence have only trickled out over the years. Imagine an ordinary-looking 5 Series that could embarrass a Lamborghini. That's the kind of experimentation BMW was doing in the shadows. The hand-built M5 no story of the E34 is complete without the M5. This was not just another performance sedan. Every single M5 E34 was hand-assembled at BMW Motorsport facility in Garching, Germany. Skilled craftsmen not machines, put together the engines, transmissions, and final assembly. This meant no two cars were exactly alike. The E34 M5 came with a screaming inline-six engine, delivering between 311 and 340 horsepower, depending on the version. That might not sound extreme today, but back in the early 90s, it was shocking. The car could sprint to 60 mph in under 6 seconds, and with the special Nürburgring package, it could hit 180 mph, performance numbers that rivaled Ferraris of the same era. Reviewers called it a wolf in a business suit. From the outside, it looked calm and professional. Inside, it was pure chaos, waiting for the right foot to unleash it. The touring oddity, then came the touring, BMW fancy name for the station wagon. Most people laughed at first. A wagon? From BMW? But the E34 touring proved them wrong. It was practical, stylish, and surprisingly fun to drive. And it had a weird little secret. Some touring models came with a rear-facing seat hidden in the trunk. That's right, kids could sit back there, staring at the cars behind, waving at strangers, and even having little picnics on the go. They built the M5 Touring, turning the family wagon into a fire-breathing beast. Only 891 were ever made, making it one of the rarest BMW in history. Imagine a grocery getter capable of humiliating sports cars. That was the E34 M5 Touring. Today, it's one of the most valuable and collectible BMW ever produced. The political car, the E34, wasn't just for families or enthusiasts. It also became a car for the elite. These E34s were fitted with bulletproof glass, reinforced doors, and strengthened floors to resist grenades. They were used by politicians, diplomats, and businessmen who needed security on the move. On the outside, they looked like regular 5 Series sedans, but under the skin, they were rolling fortresses. This gave the E34 an almost James Bond-like reputation, elegant but secretly dangerous. The overengineered legacy by the mid-1990s, the E34 had cemented its reputation. Taxi companies in Europe ran them relentlessly, often hitting 500,000 miles without major problems. Enthusiasts adored their handling, thanks to BMW perfect 50-50 weight distribution. Families loved the comfort and safety. And mechanics loved them because they were built to last, not to be replaced. But this perfection had a price. BMW reportedly spent too much money building the E34, making it a too good. When the E39 replaced it in 1996, BMW started focusing more on cost efficiency and profit margins. Many purists say that the E34 marked the end of an era, the last BMW that was engineered with passion first and money second. Rare editions, the collector's gold, the E34 had more versions than almost any BMW sedan before it, but some became legends because of their rarity. Take the E34 M5 Touring, for example. Built between 1992 and 1995, only 891 were ever made. Each was hand-built, each carried BMW motorsport DNA, and each turned a humble wagon into a fire-breathing supercar. For imagine dropping your kids off at school in a car capable of 160 plus mph. The other parents never stood a chance. Then came the Jahre edition, built to celebrate 20 years of BMW M in 1992. Only 20 cars rolled off the line, each painted in Mugello red with unique trim and a numbered plaque. These cars are so rare that many BMW fans have never even seen one in real life. They're whispered about on forums like myths. Another special model was the M5 Cecotto edition, named after racing driver Johnny Cecotto. This version came with unique interior details and limited colors, with fewer than 500 built. Today, these special editions are worth staggering sums, proving that BMW's decision to experiment with limited runs paid off decades later. Even the 500 and Fort deserves a mention. While not an M5, it came with a roaring V8, sport suspension, and M bodywork, earning the nickname "at the poor man's M5." But enthusiasts know better. Many argue it was one of the best balanced E34s ever built. Racing stories, the Wolf on Track, although the E34 was primarily built as a luxury sedan, its motorsport bloodline could not be hidden. The M5 became a popular choice for private teams in endurance racing. Its durability made it perfect for long-distance events where reliability mattered as much as speed. There are tales of modified E34s running at Nürburgring 24-hour races, competing against cars that, on paper, should have been faster, yet the BMW held their ground with sheer consistency. But perhaps the strangest racing stories came from BMW experimental divisions. Rumors speak of E34 test cars, fitted with V12 engines, borrowed from the 850 CSI, and even a V10 prototype engine that would later inspire the S60 M5. Imagine showing up to a track day with what looked like a family sedan, only for it to roar like a Formula One car. These experiments never reached production, but they fed into BMW later projects, proving that the E34 was more than a finished product. It was a testbed for the future. Weird and forgotten facts, the E34 wasn't just about performance. It was also packed with strange and unique details. For instance, some versions had headlight wipers, a feature so rare today that younger fans often don't believe it existed. Others had a built-in ice warning system on the onboard computer, which would beep when the outside temperature dropped close to freezing. It sounds simple now, but in the early 90s, that was cutting-edge tech. And then, there were the long wheelbase versions. Most people think of the 7 Series as BMW limo, but the E34 also came in stretched A-Lang version editions for government fleets and chauffeur use. These rare long E34s, with extra legroom and comfort, were built in small numbers and often sold to countries where political leaders wanted German quality without the flashiness of a Mercedes. Another oddity was the hidden toolkit. Open the trunk of some E34s, and in the lid, you'd find a neatly organized kit of BMW-branded tools, screwdrivers, wrenches, even a tire pressure gauge. It was as if BMW expected owners to be their own pit crew. Many collectors today hunt for these toolkits, as complete sets have become rare. Armored Legends, the Secret Fortresses. One of the most fascinating parts of the E34 story is the protection line. These factory-built armored cars looked identical to regular 5 Series models, but were secretly reinforced with bulletproof glass, Kevlar, and strengthened panels. Designed for politicians, diplomats, and businessmen under threat, they offered silent safety in dangerous times. Reports suggest some E34 protection models were used in regions plagued by political instability, where assassination attempts were real threats. BMW never revealed full details of their armor levels, but eyewitnesses claimed these cars could take direct fire and keep moving. Imagine driving down a busy street in what looks like an ordinary sedan, while secretly riding in one of the toughest vehicles of its time. That dual identity made the E34 not just a car, but a symbol of power and discretion. Pop culture and famous owners, the E34 wasn't as flashy on screen as some cars, but it quietly appeared in films and TV shows throughout the 90s. Its presence symbolized wealth, power, and seriousness. In Europe, it was the car of choice for both businessmen and villains on screen, a machine that blended luxury with menace. Famous owners also added to its reputation. Business magnates, politicians, and even celebrities were known to use the E34, especially the armored versions. While Mercedes might have owned the image of luxury, BMW E34 gave off a sharper, more youthful, and more dangerous aura. It was the choice of people who wanted to be taken seriously, but who also wanted the thrill of driving. The taxi and endurance hero, perhaps the most legendary reputation of the E34, came not from racetracks or luxury garages, but from the streets. In Germany and across Europe, thousands of E34s served as taxis, clocking astronomical mileage with ease. It was not uncommon to see E34s surpassing 500,000 miles on their original engines and transmissions. Some stories tell of taxis reaching nearly 1 million kilometers with minimal rebuilds. This endurance made the E34 beloved among drivers who needed reliability above all else. Taxi drivers, who are notoriously critical of cars, often praise the E34 for being unkillable. That's why even today, many call it the last BMW built to last forever. The fan culture, what keeps the E34 alive today, is not just its engineering, but its fan base. Car meets around the world still feature pristine E34s, with enthusiasts proudly displaying both stock restorations and wild modifications. Online communities trade parts, share restoration stories, and even document the lives of E34s that have been in families for decades. One popular trend is Restomod E34s, where owners fit modern tech, touchscreen infotainment, its upgraded suspension, and turbocharged engines into the old chassis. It's proof that the car's design is timeless, capable of blending old-school charm with modern performance. For many enthusiasts, owning an E34 isn't just about having a car. It's about carrying a piece of history, a machine that reflects a time when cars were more connected to the driver, more mechanical, more raw. Collector value and rising prices for years, the E34 was cheap and overlooked. It was just an old BMW, sitting in classifieds for a few $1,000s. But in the last decade, the tide has turned. Collectors realized how rare the special editions were, how durable the engines were, and how timeless the design looked. Prices of clean M5s have doubled, or even tripled. The rare touring models and limited editions now fetch six-figure sums. Even the humble 525 and 535i models are climbing in value, especially if they're in original condition. The E34 has officially crossed the line from used car to a classic. For young enthusiasts, it represents a chance to own a piece of the 90s, an era when BMW was at its peak. For older collectors, it's nostalgia, a reminder of a time when German engineering felt unstoppable. The legacy of the last overbuilt BMW, when enthusiasts call the E34 the last overbuilt BMW, it isn't just a compliment, it's a warning. After the E34, BMW shifted toward cost efficiency and modern production methods. Cars became more advanced, yes, but also less bulletproof. The E34 represents the peak of BMW obsession with quality over cost. Owners describe the E34 as alive. The steering communicates every bump, the suspension feels perfectly balanced, and the car gives you confidence even at high speeds. Modern BMW may be faster, but few match the honesty of the E34's driving experience. It's mechanical, it's raw, and it's real. So what does the BMW E34 leave behind? A legacy of strength, durability, and hidden stories. It was a limousine for leaders, a racer for enthusiasts, a workhorse for taxi drivers, and a family car for everyday people. It was bulletproof, hand-built, over-engineered, and still loved decades later. And the E34 is not just a sedan. It's a time capsule of the 90s, an era when BMW cared more about perfection than profit, when cars were designed to last forever, and when even a family car could become a legend. If you ever see an E34 today, don't just see it as an old BMW. See it as what it truly is, the last overbuilt masterpiece, the car that carried secrets in silence, and the legend that refuses to die.